GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action. Live from the GMNA News Center, this is the Lunch Break News Hour.
Good afternoon, Toronto. Tonight we'll preview the World Cup final at Toronto Stadium and the orange heat warning that's forced live broadcasts off at Nathan Phillips Square. The zoo reopens after Thursday's power outage and traffic snarling around match day road closures. Over to you, Nathan.
The Heritage Antique Market opens at Centerpoint Mall today, featuring vendors with vintage furniture, jewelry, and collectibles ranging from the 19th to the early 20th century.
Operating from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., the market provides free entry and offers a family-friendly atmosphere with live acoustic performances on the main aisle.
Local historians will host a guided tour at 2 p.m., highlighting rare postcards and wartime memorabilia from Toronto's early neighborhoods.
Lots to get to, let's begin, and thank you for joining us as we dive into today's stories together. Good morning, Toronto.
Portugal and Croatia are set to meet in the World Cup final at Toronto Stadium later today, the tournament's concluding showdown drawing a buzz of anticipation across the greater Toronto area. The match will be the last of the competition, pitting the defending European champions against the Balkan side that surprised many on their road to the final. However, an extreme heat warning issued for the city has forced officials to cancel the planned outdoor live broadcast at Nathan Phillips Square, citing safety concerns for spectators and staff. Fans who gathered downtown will have to follow the action on television or streaming services instead. Organizers say the heat advisory will remain in effect through the evening, and stadium officials are monitoring conditions closely to ensure a safe environment for players and attendees.
Thousands of Torontonians lined the streets outside the Delta Hotel yesterday, cheering as the Portuguese national soccer team rolled in after a flight from Toronto Pearson. The crowd surged around the hotel near Highway 427 in Dundas Street, momentarily closing a lane on the expressway. Fans waved flags, shouted the star's name, and took photos of Cristiano Ronaldo as the squad stepped onto the sidewalk. Police directed traffic while supporters kept the energy high, turning the brief blockage into a festive welcome. The visit marks the team's scheduled appearance in the city, sparking a surge of excitement among the local Portuguese community and soccer lovers alike. Officials said the gathering remained peaceful despite the temporary disruption. The arrival coincided with a promotional tour that includes a charity match later this month, drawing even more anticipation.
Toronto Zoo officials announced that the park will reopen later today after being forced to close on Canada Day due to a power outage. The outage, which hit during a heat wave, knocked out electricity to guest services, prompting staff to shut the gates as a safety precaution. Engineers have restored power to animal habitats and visitor areas, and sanitation crews are completing checks to ensure compliance with health standards. Zoo management said the decision reflects a commitment to both animal welfare and a safe visitor experience. Families who plan trips over the long weekend can now expect the usual attractions, including the giant panda and polar bear exhibits, to be available. Officials reminded guests to arrive early, as parking may fill quickly with eager patrons returning after the brief closure.
Environment Canada says a blistering heat wave is sweeping across Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island, and the sweltering conditions are persisting. A strong high-pressure ridge has locked in temperatures well above seasonal norms, prompting a cascade of heat warnings and health alerts throughout the region. Officials warn that vulnerable populations, especially seniors and those working outdoors, face heightened risk of heat-related illness. Residents are urged to stay hydrated, limit strenuous activity during peak hours, and seek cool shelters where available. Municipal health units have also issued advisories for indoor spaces, recommending frequent breaks and air conditioning where possible. Schools and workplaces in the hardest-hit areas are reviewing protocols, while power utilities brace for increased demand on the grid. The weather pattern is expected to linger through the week, keeping the heat advisory in effect as communities adapt to the extreme conditions.
Farmers across southwestern Ontario are breathing a sigh of relief as a stretch of unusually warm weather arrives, offering a chance for rain-soaked fields to dry and damaged crops to bounce back. After weeks of relentless downpours and hail that battered corn, soy, and wheat, the sudden rise in temperature is expected to speed soil drying and stimulate photosynthesis, giving seedlings a needed boost. Local agronomists note that the heat will help break down waterlogged soil, reducing the risk of root rot that has plagued the region since early June. While the weather swing follows a string of extreme events that have strained planting schedules, growers say the warm spell could be the turning point for the 2026 harvest outlook. The outlook remains cautious, but the immediate relief is clear.
Later we'll break down Ontario's push for strong mayor powers and what it means for you. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
Welcome back. If you're ready to cut the fluff, we've got the real headlines and a quick look at downtown Nathan.
Earlier today, the provincial government finalized an expansion of strong mayor powers to nearly half of Ontario's municipalities. Premier Doug Ford and his cabinet pushed the change through despite a consultation that yielded mostly negative responses from the municipalities that were asked. The new framework gives mayors broader authority over budgeting, staffing, and policy direction, a shift critics argue reduces council input and weakens local democratic checks. Supporters say the tools will speed decision-making on infrastructure and public services, but the backlash highlighted concerns about accountability. With the legislation now in force, residents across the province may see mayoral offices take a more decisive role in daily issues such as transit schedules, waste collection, and community planning, while council members adjust to a reduced influence in those processes. The shift could reshape how neighborhood projects are approved and how quickly emergency measures are enacted.
Toronto under orange heat warning on Canada Day. An orange-level heat warning was in effect for Toronto on July 1, as the city marked Canada Day under dangerously high temperatures. Environment Canada issued the warning after forecasts projected temperatures well above seasonal norms, triggering the highest alert level for heat. The agency's orange warning signals that heat-related illness and strain on the power grid are likely without precautions. Residents were advised to limit outdoor activity, stay hydrated, and check on vulnerable neighbors. Public facilities, including community centers and libraries, extended cooling hours. City officials also opened additional cooling centers at transit stations and municipal buildings to provide refuge for those without air-conditioned spaces. Emergency services prepared for an increase in heat-related calls. The warning remained in place throughout the holiday, and temperatures began to moderate later in the evening.
Extreme heat on July 1st forced Metrolinx to delay several GO trains and cancel a handful across the network. Temperatures rose well above normal, straining equipment and prompting safety checks that held up service. Commuters heading into the city faced longer wait times at stations and missed connections, while those returning home encountered crowded platforms as fewer trains ran. Metrolinx issued a statement acknowledging the disruptions and said crews were monitoring conditions around the clock. Station staff worked overtime to assist stranded passengers and provide updates throughout the afternoon. The agency reminded riders that heat can affect braking systems and onboard climate control, and it will adjust schedules when thresholds are exceeded. This incident follows a pattern of weather-related challenges for the commuter rail system that serves the Greater Toronto Area, highlighting how summer spikes can directly impact daily travel plans.
On July 1st, the Ontario Ministry of Health rolled out a province-wide change to colorectal cancer screening. Residents aged 45 and older can now request the at-home fecal immunochemical test, lowering the previous eligibility threshold. The move makes Ontario the second province in Canada to adopt the younger screening age, aligning with recent adjustments elsewhere in the country. Health officials say early detection saves lives, and the new policy expands access to a simple, non-invasive test that can be completed at home and mailed for analysis. The program will be available through family doctors and pharmacies, with results processed by provincial labs. By offering the test to a broader age group, the government aims to catch potential cancers sooner, reducing treatment complexity and improving outcomes for Ontarians across the province.
Yesterday, the Ontario government rolled out a revised auto insurance framework that trims the scope of accident benefits. Under the new rules, pedestrians and cyclists involved in a collision are no longer automatically covered by the driver whose policy would have paid out before. Instead, they must rely on their own personal insurance or other sources for compensation. The shift follows a provincial review aimed at narrowing the pool of claimants and reducing overall premiums. For Toronto commuters who walk or bike to work, the change means a new layer of financial risk if they are struck. Insurers say the policy will streamline payouts, while consumer groups warn that vulnerable road users could face higher out-of-pocket costs. The regulations took effect as of July 1st and will apply to all collisions moving forward.
Now let's turn to our weather team for the latest heat outlook across the province.
A swaying jet stream from the southwest fuels rising pressure, priming Toronto for a hot, clear afternoon. On this date, the city's thermometer once jumped to 35.5 degrees Celsius back in 2020, a record set during an unprecedented heat wave that stretched across the Great Lakes region. The cold counterpart fell to 11.7 degrees Celsius in 2007, when a polar air mass slipped southward, blanketing the area with Arctic air. Today's climatological normal for July 2nd hovers around 23 degrees Celsius for the high and 19 for the low, underscoring how today's warmth sits just below the historic peak, yet far above average. On the live radar, the screen is spotless, no rain bands or convection anywhere across southern Ontario. The absence of echoes confirms a dry, stable air mass anchored by near-average pressure that is only beginning to fall. With the jet stream aloft from the southwest, any disturbance would be sheared away, so we expect clear skies to persist through the evening before the system finally arrives after midnight. At noon, Toronto sits under a clear sky with a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius and a humidity of 90%, making the air feel muggy. The gentle southwest breeze at 4 kilometers per hour is only a prelude. The jet stream overhead from the southwest will funnel slightly stronger west winds later, topping 25 kilometers per hour by mid-afternoon. Pressure is falling, signaling an unsettled system that will creep in after sunset, but today remains dry. The ultraviolet index climbs to 8, indicating strong solar intensity. Heat warnings blanket the Greater Toronto Area, so remain aware of elevated temperatures. Expect the high to reach 34 degrees Celsius, then dip to 21 degrees after dark, with clear skies persisting into the night. Friday will see the high ease to 30 degrees Celsius under an overcast veil, with the low holding at 20 degrees as the lingering cloud cover moderates daytime heating. Saturday brings a cooler day, 28 degrees maximum, and a chance of light drizzle covering 20% of the region, a reminder that the approaching system is finally nudging moisture inland. Sunday and Monday remain stubbornly overcast, both capping at 25 degrees and holding steady lows of 20, keeping temperatures flat through the mid-week stretch. By Tuesday, the sky clears, returning to a crisp 26 degrees high and 20 low, offering a brief respite before the next trough. Throughout the period, the heat warnings stay in effect, underscoring the need for vigilance during the lingering warmth. And that's your weather. Remember, the lunch break is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, we'll map heavy traffic, preview the Heritage Antique Market at Centrepoint Mall, and discuss Green Shield's new Toronto office. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
FIFA World Cup match day road closures will bite into your commute. Starting at 2 p.m., Fort York Boulevard between Angelique Street and Lakeshore Boulevard, Lakeshore Boulevard from British Columbia Road to Bathurst Street, Dufferin Street between Springhurst Avenue and British Columbia Road, and Strachan Avenue from East Liberty Street to Lakeshore Boulevard will be shut. Fleet Street between Strachan Avenue and Angelique Street closes, and Liberty Village and Fort York allow local access. Expect detours and added travel time on routes that normally use those corridors. Earlier this morning, the Gardiner Expressway remains under rehabilitation, keeping traffic heavy through downtown, especially between the Don Valley and the Queen Elizabeth Way. Parliament Street also runs with lane closures and a sidewalk detour from Distillery Lane to the CN Rail Bridge, slowing flow. Transit services are operating on schedule. Drivers should allow extra time this afternoon and consider alternative routes such as the Don Valley Parkway or Lakeshore Rail Line.
World Cup round of 32 clash between 2K and 2L kicks off at BMO Field this afternoon, a knockout showdown that puts Toronto at the heart of the global tournament, and any soccer fan should tune in for the drama. The Beaches International Jazz Festival continues across Woodbine Park and Queen Street East, free to the public and packed with breezy sets from local legends and visiting virtuosos, making it an ideal soundtrack for a sunny lunch break. At Meridian Hall, Nigerian star Adekunle Gold leads a full orchestra for a night of Afro-pop brilliance, blending his signature Afrobeat grooves with lush strings, a fresh world music experience you won't want to miss. Looking ahead, the Pussycat Dolls launch their PCD Forever tour this Friday at Budweiser Stage, delivering a high-energy pop revival and marking one of the few Toronto dates on their comeback run. And now here's Marcus with sports.
Kickoff time for Toronto's sports beat, from the World Cup to the Leafs and Raptors. Portugal and Croatia are slated to clash in a World Cup knockout match at a Toronto venue, with organizers warning that the heat will be intense. Both sides will need to manage stamina as they vie for advancement in the tournament. The Toronto Maple Leafs have added veteran goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky to their roster, prompting analysts to question whether the move represents a calculated gamble. Experts note the contract's length and cap impact could shape Toronto's defensive strategy moving forward. Rumors indicate the Toronto Raptors are actively pursuing Kawhi Leonard, a move that could reshape their salary cap landscape and lineup composition. Analysts are weighing the financial flexibility required and the potential on-court boost should the deal materialize.
Green Shield in downtown Toronto's Commerce Court South building just opened its doors, bringing together 700 staff under one roof. As Canada's only national nonprofit healthcare and insurance organization, Green Shield provides coverage and wellness programs that reach from the suburbs to the inner city. This new hub consolidates the firm's scattered teams, sparking daily collaboration and faster service for members across the Greater Toronto Area. The office adds a steady stream of commuters to the downtown core, supporting local cafes, transit, and the neighborhood's vibrant pulse. Its downtown home also draws health tech startups, creating apprenticeship spots for local students and new jobs. For Torontonians, Green Shield isn't just an insurer, it's a community partner helping us stay healthy and connected. And later, a smile-wide story as the Toronto Zoo swings its gates open Thursday after the power outage, bringing joy to families.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From City Hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMna for the local sunset, Montreal's evening newscast.
Toronto is gearing up for the FIFA World Cup 2026, with a flurry of fan festivals and match day celebrations lighting up BMO Stadium. The city's streets are buzzing as supporters from around the globe gather for the biggest soccer party of the year. Carl Dumont is there. Carl Dumont.
Thanks, Jordan Parker. I'm standing on the south concourse of BMO Stadium, where the roar of fans already echoes like a pre-game drum roll. Bright banners in red, white, and blue flutter above the polished concrete, and a sea of scarves swirls as dozens of volunteers hand out wristbands for the upcoming World Cup matches. The air smells of fresh pretzel dough and maple syrup coffee, mingling with the faint scent of rain on the new turf. Just beyond the main gate, a pop-up fan zone buzzes with a live DJ, giant screens flashing past tournament highlights, and families gathered around inflatable soccer goals for impromptu kicks. Overhead, the TTC has added a temporary night streetcar route, its neon signs guiding commuters toward the stadium's extra entrances. City officials are coordinating detours, and the streets outside pulse with multilingual chants as tourists from every continent mingle with locals. This isn't just a series of games, it's a celebration that stitches together a city's diverse heartbeat around a shared love of soccer. Carl Dumont, virtually at BMO Stadium.
Down on King Street West, just steps from the CN Tower, a bright bronze beaver wearing a tiny baseball cap greeted the flow of World Cup fans. The sculpture, a playful nod to the United States design that was meant to welcome visitors for the 2026 tournament, was suddenly splintered by vandalism early this morning. But within an hour, a small crowd of commuters, local students, and the artist himself gathered with paint, tools, and a shared sense of purpose. A group of high schoolers from a nearby school set up a makeshift studio on the sidewalk, carefully sanding the dents while a street musician strummed a hopeful tune. By noon, the beaver stood whole again, its cheeky grin brighter than before, and a handwritten sign read, "Built by the city for the city." The unexpected teamwork reminded everyone that a single act of repair can stitch a community tighter than any statue ever could. It's a reminder that even when something breaks, the people around us are ready to lift it up.
On a crisp Saturday afternoon outside the historic St. Lawrence Market, a crowd of families, Seniors and school-age kids gathered around a portable basketball hoop that had been set up for a community pop-up. The buzz in the air was unmistakable because word had spread that the Toronto Raptors were finalizing a trade that would bring Kawhi Leonard back home. Across the city, the iconic neon sign above the Scotiabank Arena flickered as a local artist added a fresh splash of blue and red to a mural that already featured Leonard's 2019 championship leap. Inside the makeshift court, a 12-year-old girl named Maya tried to imitate Leonard's smooth fadeaway, her sneakers squeaking on the concrete while her grandfather cheered, recalling the night the Raptors lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy. When the trade was confirmed, the crowd erupted, not just for the player but for the promise of mentorship, clinics, and the kind of hope that a champion can ignite in a neighborhood. The return of Leonard feels like a homecoming that reminds us sport can stitch a city together, one shared moment at a time.
Thanks, Toronto, for joining us on the lunch break. It was great to see the city come alive as thousands cheered Cristiano Ronaldo's arrival. Stay cool as the heat wave rolls on, and we'll be back tomorrow with more of the stories that matter to you. See you then.